Hi, I'm Tara Miele.
Hello, and welcome to the Box Angeles Podcast with me. I am your host, Mike Elder. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. You've picked a great episode to listen to, but let's do some housekeeping really quick. I got to shout out Griffin Taylor for being a Patreon subscriber. Thank you, Griffin. Really appreciate your support of the show. If you want to shout out, go to my Patreon, patreon.com/BoxAngeles. And you can also become a subscriber, support me, and get a shout out in one of these intros. That'd be cool. Also, Apple Podcasts. I now have all the full episodes of the archives, 300 plus episodes on Apple Podcasts. If you listen to Apple Podcasts, you can now be a subscriber there and get all the archives. So that's great. While you're there, please leave a rating and a review. I am now asking for more Apple Podcasts reviews. It would mean a lot to me if you could do that. That's a good way to support the show, even if you don't become a subscriber. Support me in little free ways like that. Okay, we've got a really great episode today. I spoke to director Tara Miele. Tara is a fantastic director you'd recognize from shows like Arrow, Batwoman, Lessons in Chemistry, The Rookie, her movie Wander Darkly. She has done so much stuff. We had a really nice conversation. We talked about the DGA, the WGA, the deals they had, sort of if they can work together, if they can't, the importance of tone on set, how she handles different actors, different level of actors. Like Brie Larson is very different than a co-star. We talked about all sorts of really good stuff, director groups that she is a part of, her coming up in the business. It was a really good conversation. She's done a lot of podcasts and she knows what she's talking about, and she likes talking about this sort of stuff and being candid, and she didn't disappoint. So I don't want to waste any more time. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Tara Miele. Hi, Tara.
Hi, Mike.
Thanks for coming down.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
You know what's funny is this is how big this world is. I literally was like, I wonder if Tara's done a podcast. And then I search your name in Apple Podcasts right before you get here. Mm-hmm. You've done a lot of podcasts.
I feel like I've done a lot of podcasts. And like you reached out a while ago and I like didn't see it or something. And then I was like, oh, I feel bad. Like, you know, I think when I was coming up as a filmmaker, we didn't have this. And so I love the idea of like giving that back and being like, here's the real. Like, yeah. I didn't have family in the business. I didn't have friends in the business. I was like, you know, so I like that idea of like, here's the real deal. Like, I like to be really honest about it, which is maybe to my detriment.
I can't wait.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I just did, yeah, I don't know. I've done a couple.
Yeah, more than a couple. But I
you make me seem like I will show up at any podcast.
Well, you might. Who knows?
I don't think that's true.
Oh, you've turned some down?
Uh-huh.
Who have we turned down?
Well, that's not, you know.
Well, just give me like the general. Was it like a...
Like I see who's been on the podcast.
Oh, you do?
Like, okay. I just like want to make sure that it's like...
Yeah, you do your vetting process.
Yeah, because it's time, you know. It takes time to do this stuff.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where it's like so many podcasts start, and if it's a very early one, you probably don't want to, because they might quit next week and your episode might not even get put out there. Right. It's something like, I don't know the number of podcasts on Apple Podcasts. I want to say it's like 20,000, but like There's only a small fraction that are actively doing. Right, most of them do it for like a little run and then quit. I
also, by the way, like kind of dream secretly of having a podcast and I don't do it. Like I haven't done it. But if I wasn't a filmmaker, I just would want to be like interviewing people all the time. Like I would be Oprah. Like I just fucking love
set the bar low.
I know, set the bar low. Like, you know, no worries, Tara. Totally. Go be Oprah. But I really, really love like talking to people and getting their stories and like I just think it's so, everybody has such wild stories
1,000%.
That you could never imagine. Like, yeah, so.
It's also, to your point about filmmaking, though, it is kind of, now with, I cut these up, I slice and dice. Nobody listens to the audio of the podcast, truthfully.
Oh,
but I slice these up in the bite-sized TikToks and Instagrams, and I get thousands and thousands of views on all those. And it's become... Every video I do, I try to do something a little better because it's such a different game, but it's like, you got to hook them in the first second.
Yeah.
And how can you tease them? And it's kind of like a fun little challenge, filmmaking. Storytelling aspect to it that isn't historically been there until the last couple of years. Yeah.
That's cool.
I like the idea, though, you said giving back. Mm-hmm. And that's why I've been interviewing a lot of directors lately. I don't feel like directors, and keep me honest, maybe I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like directors like revealing their hand as much.
I think maybe you're right. Like directors are sort of like lone wolves, you know? They go off on their own. They don't have like a tribe all the time. I do think that's changing. I think at least the generation of filmmakers I know, we have lots of groups. We like to chat. We like to share. We're all very helpful with each other, which I think is great. It doesn't feel as competitive as maybe it used to. It definitely feels like more communal. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, is it like giving away the secret sauce or something? It's like, you know, it's a little bit of that magic that maybe you don't want to reveal. But
yeah. But
I love talking
right.
shop. I'm
well, you
like,
clearly
let's
do.
Do it.
I would argue though, like, there's no reason not to share your secret sauce, because then you'll influence people and you'll learn something from sharing that, and people can work together. Like, it's such a collaborative medium in general. It's like,
I think that it's hard, you know, like in some ways, like writers are allowed to be all like, you know, vulnerable and nabbishy and be like, oh, I'm so tortured and blah, blah, blah. And like directors are supposed to have their shit together. And I like think that like a lot more directors than we think have anxiety, have OCD, you know, have panic nightmares the day before they get to set. You know, like I love Spielberg said at one point, every day one, he gets to set and sees all this stuff and goes, oh God, today's the day they figure out I'm a fraud.
Sure.
And I'm like, I love that. Like, that's the stuff people need to hear when they're starting out. Like that first day you show up on set and there's like many trucks and many people and you're like, oh shit, they're all going to be like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know, like you have that moment. And so, yeah, I think we got to share that it's like, it's a pretty daunting job. It's the best job.
Well, you
it's
mentioned
a daunting job.
Definitely daunting. You mentioned groups. You have groups. Where are these groups meeting up, and how do
you find them?
How do I just walk by?
They're very secret.
Are you talking like Facebook groups or whatever?
There's like a little WhatsApp group that is
cool.
like a little secret society. And I have a few of those. You know, like there's some through the DGA. When I first started out, I was in a group called Film Fatales that really gave me a sense of like how it could work. I remember I said to a friend of mine, you know, I really want to create like a group of women filmmakers and just like get together like once a month and talk. And she goes, oh, that exists. Like Leah Meyerhoff has made it in New York and we're bringing it to LA. And I was like, oh my God, get me in, please. Can I get in? And then, you know, 2 years later, there was 30 women sitting in my living room in West Adams. And we were all working, some as writers, but nobody was really getting paid to direct. This was like, what year? 2012 or something like that. No, 2015. And seeing all those women who I knew were talented, who I knew were awesome, and who weren't getting paid to direct, I was like, oh, it's not just me. And so that was so powerful. And then now I look back at like a photo of that night and it's like Lulu Wang and Sean Hayter and Rai Russo Young and Burton Birdie and like these incredible filmmakers, Hanalei Culpepper. Like, I'm like, and now we're all working. So it's like, it's pretty, you know, it's like you start with the people who are around you in your peer group and then you all rise together, I think. But
that's so cool.
Yeah.
And you also help people out and
I try to mentor a lot.
Yeah, that's really cool. Keep me honest here. I do feel like, and I don't remember if somebody told me this on a podcast or I saw an interview or something, but it does seem like there's sort of a changing of the guard with directors right now in the sense that, and I could be way wrong, but it seems like there was the same 15 or 20 that were directing the sitcoms and they're all white men and they're at this point getting really old. And from my understanding, maybe I'm completely misremembering this, but a lot of them are kind of dicks on set and just rude. And it seems like they are starting to get flushed out because time and all of that. And now it's a lot younger collaborative directors coming in, it feels like.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, I definitely think like with Me Too and Time's Up, things, you know, opened. Like it was like we were all standing outside the playing field, smashing our heads against the gate, and then all of a sudden the gate opened, and so we were able to compete at least on the field. Like before that, I mean, I literally was like begging to direct an episode of Kirby Buckets and like couldn't get an I mean, begging. And
you probably don't want to do that. I mean,
well, no, I mean,
something
like
about
honestly,
a sexy indifference.
Honestly, like
I don't need Kirby Buckets.
I'm never slumming it. I got to be honest. Like whatever I'm doing with my full heart, and like there's room for everything, and no shade for anybody who is supporting their family doing creative work in any way. But it's just to say that I could not get hired, literally could not get hired. And I forget what we were talking about.
We were talking about getting rid of the old guy.
Getting rid of the old guy. So what I would say is like, you know, one of my first jobs that I got was because an old dude had been accused of sexual misconduct. And I showed up on this set, and he was one of their beloved older directors. And I was like, it was my third episode of television ever. And everybody was like, okay, here comes the female diversity hire because they want to make it look good. And she probably doesn't know what she's doing. And they didn't believe he'd done anything wrong. And so I sort of had to 3 days in, I'm like, I don't know anything about anything. I'm just here. I'm just going to do my job. And then little by little, it was like, all the office assistants are like, yeah, by the way, that guy used to corner me in the kitchen and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, oh. And then at some point I said to one of the higher, guys on the staff, they haven't told you because they don't think you'll believe them. And he was like, no, it's just not true. And I'm like, right. But they all told me because they thought I'd believe them. And he was like, so it was sort of edging my way into that difficult conversation that this is all real and it does happen. And even if this guy's a, good Catholic and a family man, he can also be a perv and make people feel uncomfortable at work or be inappropriate. So anyway, but then, the AD I remember said to me on that show, yeah, so you're the diversity hire. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, so, don't fuck up. I was like, yeah, no, I won't. And he was like, because, it was the idea that if I fuck up for everybody. And I said, but haven't you had bad white dudes come in? And he was like, oh, yeah, tons. And I was like, right, but they don't represent every white dude. And he was like, yeah, right. So you can't fuck up, So
you work
anyway,
with that guy often now.
No, I mean, I love that guy, actually. It was a really honest conversation, I'm not afraid of having those kind of because I'm not always right. There's always a different perspective on stuff. But what I would say is, yeah, so there was a time where for sure there was this wave of all the DEI stuff, right? And now I'm not so sure that is still mattering in the conversations. There's been a great compression in the industry. And my fear is that it's the tides have turned back the other way. Maybe it went too far, maybe the way that we were having identity politics all went a little bit too far.
Yeah.
And, I was, yeah, that's all I'll say about that. So jury's out. Jury's out.
Well, you said you started with this saying I think you said something like you're an open book on these podcasts or whatever. So let me ask you something about the DGA.
No, I've set myself up. You're let's get into the hard
Say whatever
stuff.
you want. No, I don't know enough about this to really even grill you if I wanted to. Not that I would ever grill somebody. I'm a sweet little boy. So when all the strikes were happening, the DGA sort of just was like, we're good, and didn't help and took their deal and ran off. Did you, what was your sense on that? And were you okay with that? Were you fine?
So,
what was the,
look, I think I have a different perspective on that for sure. But what I can say is the Writers Guild and the Directors Guild have different needs and different negotiation strategies and cannot really see eye to eye. And I truly don't think that either side is innocent or without some responsibility in that dynamic. What's hard as a director, most of the time I'm working for a writer. So there's this feeling from the writers sometimes oh, the directors, this. And I'm like, but you guys are my boss. What are you talking about? And then I think on the writer's side, there is a history of, when directors ran features, they were like, yeah, fuck the writer, get out of here. And so, I think there's a lot of old bad blood. And I'm in both guilds. I think it's unfortunate there's that much bad blood because I know a lot of writer directors who really wish that our unions could work together. And, I don't know that it's ever going to happen. That's the truth. The directors did what the directors needed to do for them.
Okay, so you were good with the deal you guys got. You didn't think you guys
the thing that
rolled over is how I felt like the trades were writing it or some people.
I don't. I mean, look, the DJ will say we got a historic deal, we got the best deal we ever dealed, blah blah blah, and the trade or the Writers Guild will say they sold out, and I think it's all spin. The thing that I wish the Directors Guild had gotten is international scope, which is if you have an American project shooting overseas, you have to have an American director. And right now that's not always happening. So there's plenty of Apple, ABC family shows or whatever, Ted Lasso, that shoot overseas that are paying non-union directors non-union rates and not paying healthcare. And these are massive companies. They like have the money. So that's the thing that I find, like, that's the thing I wish we had gotten. And I hope we get it next time. I mean, it's like coming up already. It's like a year out.
Oh, wild.
It's sickening.
So why,
I'm like, God, not again.
Why,
you know?
That's funny. Why do you think the DGA and WGA essentially can't get along? You kind of led that with like, they're just never going to work.
So the DGA doesn't.
Toxic?
No, it's like their negotiation strategies are different, right? The DGA doesn't go in saying, we're going to strike if you don't give us what we want. Like, they go in good faith and say, okay, let's see what we can work out. And the Writers Guild says, first thing out, you don't give us what we want, we're going on strike. And that's just in terms of literally like their negotiation strategy is just night and day. And it's like a little bit of like, if you can't play the way we want to play, we're not playing with you.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of what it is.
So
I always thought, like, couldn't we do something where the DGA says, we agree never to shoot an AI script if you guys agree never to do an international production without DGA directors? And everyone's like, no. It's like, okay, on both sides.
Right. And also don't give awards to all those shows that do skirt the union lines.
I know. That's
like I had Matt Jones on recently, and he was like, I can't believe that SAG, the biggest shows or movies for the SAG Awards all had international things that were ducking the union stuff.
The best stuff is being made overseas, I think, right?
Yeah.
They're all, because, whatever. I mean, it's like, are we already in the algorithm so deep that we're all trying, like, that Hollywood is trying to make stuff that's just like the 4 quadrants and fitting that, is it just content, and overseas it's different? Somebody was telling me, like, when they develop in England, they've got like 4 projects on their slate that they're developing, and they intend to make them all. And it feels like sometimes in America, like in Hollywood, our plan is, okay, we've got 40 things on the slate. Let's see which one sticks. And then everybody's exhausted. Everybody has a slate of things that are never going to go. Everybody's stretched too thin, writers included, and then you've got like 36 things that don't end up going that you've wasted all that time on. So, yeah.
But that's always how it's been, though, right? To a degree. Because they always make hundreds of pilots and then only select a couple of them, right?
Yeah.
But then you have networks like HBO and FX that are much more
picky selective.
Yeah, and then they let those things breathe rather than just...
Yes. Yes.
So it's safe to say you're not worried about where we're at all.
Not at all. It's fine. It's all fine.
Were you good with the WGA deal at the time, since you are also in the WGA?
Oh, man. Let me remember. How did I feel about the WGA deal at the time? It's like the same thing, Like, I kind of feel like what's told to you and what the real is never exact,
Yeah, it's all politics.
And I wasn't involved. I wasn't as involved at the WGA. So, like, do I believe they did the best they could do? Yes. Do I believe that the DGA did the best they could do? Yes. Do I know that it was worth it for us to go on strike? I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. I was around during the first strike in 2007. I sold my first script, got into the WGA, and they were like, don't buy a house, don't have a kid, don't buy a car. And I was like, wait, what? And then I didn't work for 5 years, Like, I didn't work for 5 years. It took me 5 years. And so when the WGA was talking about going on strike, I went to one of our little meetings, and I was like, this is going to, like, destroy people's careers. Like, people will not survive. And, they were like, yeah, it's war. That happens. That's going to happen. I was like, damn, you guys are hardcore, like, that's so horrible, But so I don't know. I mean, yes, the industry will squish every little thing out of you. It's so unfortunate, right? Yes. And somebody has to fight. The unions have to fight. Yeah. So, and it's like, maybe it's above my pay grade. Like, I don't know. The answer is I don't know.
Did you always want to direct? Did you always aspire to be a director?
When I was little, I wanted to either be an actor or the president. And then did both a lot of theater. Yeah, totally, both achievable.
Acting might be harder, honestly, at this point.
Thank God I'm not the president. I mean, better me than some people, but not, No, so I did a lot of theater, and everybody was trying to push me to write. Like, every time I had a teacher or journalist, my mom was sort of a writer, and so everyone was like, you're such a good writer, you're such a good writer. I was like, I'm not a writer. And acted, went to college for acting, then started directing in theater, and hated that because I'm too OCD and couldn't control the, every little nuance of the connection on stage. And then one night I went to Santa Barbara, and I was in Isla Vista, and I was probably stoned. And a friend of mine was like, I was really depressed because I did not know what I was doing with my life. And they were like, come with me to the student film screening. And I don't know if you've ever been to Ivy Theater, but it's like just pot smoke, just like fluming up. And there's like, and I was watching these little student films. They were shot on like 8mm, and they were splice tape on them. And you could see where the cuts had been made. And there's like a live guitarist. And I was like, oh, fuck, I could make this.
Yeah.
Like, I could do this. And my family was very obsessed with films growing up. Like, we did a lot of quoting Beetlejuice and, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. And, like, that was just, like, how we communicated, was movie quotes mostly. And it just was like, oh, this is, like, the space, like, this is just, like, that was it. It was a full lock-in. I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. So, like, marched down to the film office on Monday morning. I was like, I'm going to make a movie. And they were like, well, you should maybe be, like, a film major first. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's do that,
Oh, so you were still in school at the time?
Yeah, I was in theater.
Okay.
I was in theater. So then I double majored, and I made a senior thesis film that went to Slam Dance in 2000. And I was, like, set my sights on Sundance. It took me 20 years to get down the hill. I did that with Wander Darkly in 2020. And, yeah, but it was, it was just, like... it's nice to know what you love. It's nice to know what you love to do. It's hard to see it, It's funny because I'm writing this film right now that's set on a ranch in Texas. And it's like, you can't make a living as a rancher anymore, right? And I'm like, oh, maybe that's filmmaking now. I'm like so identifying with like the kind of evolution and change of this business and this industry. And it's like, I'm like an old cowboy just like holding on, like... I have 300 acres and 100 cattle. Just holding on. So, yeah.
Wait, what school did you go to?
Santa Barbara.
Oh, it was in Santa Barbara. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
got it. And so you had that moment where you're like, oh, I should direct.
Yeah.
So then quickly,
I'm a film director. That's who I am.
Right. So how did you like... To me, it's just like ostensibly obvious how actors get work, right? They get an agent, an agent submits them to all the breakdowns. But directing, you obviously have to procure work. You have to like find an in, and
yeah.
So was it for you making content was your in, or did you work at a production house or something?
This was in like 1998, pre the word content. So what did I do? I was in school. I made my short film, and my senior year, I befriended my production teacher, and he was like, I was looking for an internship in LA, and like I didn't know anybody, and he said, oh, you should meet with this old student of mine. She works at Jodie Foster's company, Egg Pictures at Paramount Studios. And I was like, oh my God, yes, please. And so I went and I interviewed there, and I got this internship.
Oh,
so
hell yeah.
For like the second half of my senior year, I would go to class on Monday, drive to Thousand Oaks, sleep at my parents' house, drive to Paramount Tuesday morning, do my shift, like my day shift. And then I had asked them, do you guys mind if I leave at 5 so I can make my 7 p.m. screenings on Tuesdays and Thursday nights? So I drive back to Santa Barbara, do my screenings, which was like for a class or whatever, Wednesday, Thursday. And I mean, I was like falling asleep on the freeway. It was not recommended. It was too much. But that was how I kind of got my foot in the door. And then they helped me get my first job, which was after graduation. And I remember, it's really interesting. I remember Nicole Halsener needed an intern, and she didn't have money to pay an assistant. She needed an intern, and I couldn't take the job because I could not live at my parents' house. It was like, like they were like, get out. And I needed a job. So I always think about like what would have happened if I'd had some sort of financial support to be able to go do that route. But instead, I got a job at the Kushner Law Company, and 3 days into my job, I found out they were making softcore porn. And that was my job for like 8 months. I worked at this company that made like B movies and softcore porn. And it was a fabulous experience, a learning experience. And that's, yeah.
You probably learned a lot about lighting, I feel like.
Oh my God. It was
close-ups.
something. It was something. And then, yeah.
Wait, I love that the name was like a law firm, though. Kushner and Law.
Kushner Law.
Or whatever.
Oh my God. Those guys, they were getting sued all the time. I don't know. But, it was definitely like very different. It was like go from Egg Pictures, which was like the soft nest with Diet Coke, and we'd all walk around barefoot on the Paramount lot, a little bungalow. And then I was like in some bank building in, Brentwood with like people who all hated each other and were like being awful and whatever.
That's so cool that you got to go on the Paramount lot, though. Like, I still love going on the lot.
It's still my favorite lot.
Yeah.
I know. I just shot The Rookie there in
Nice.
the fall, and we were riding our bikes around scouting, we needed like a college campus locations for scouting. And my AD, who I love, put on, the Cyndi Lauper song from Goonies. And we're all just like riding bikes around the lot. And I was like, this is like the best moment of my whole life. Like, I'm literally like sunshine riding a bike around the lot, like in Pee Wee Herman. And like, this is it. Like, this is it, you guys. This is a full circle moment,
I love that, even if it is empty. My buddy he does Warner Brothers tours, and they do a 5K every year. And he signed us up this year because suddenly he wants to run the marathon. But it was so fun to run the lot just on a Saturday morning with a bunch of friends and families of coworkers. Wow. And I was like, he's worked there forever. I'm like, why have you not done this every year? He's like, I don't know. I didn't like running. I'm like, yeah, but you give an opportunity for your friends to get on the lot. And it's so magical and fun to run through a lot and do a 5K.
Yeah, and I got to shoot at Warner Brothers for Little America. We shot like Brooklyn, we did like Hasidic Brooklyn on the back lot. And it was like, this is where they shot Easy Street in Annie. I was like, this is a moment, you know? And it was actually funny. We show up and I'm like, oh my God, we'll put the crane and we'll do this whole thing. And then I was like, wait, no, stop. Just because you're like on the lot, you're all excited. That is not the show. The show is like handheld and on the ground and like real. That's like a documentary. I was like, okay. So it was really
That's
funny.
how inspiring they are, though.
It was so cool.
You just get that in your tummy. And your
that
heart.
history,
Yeah, that's great. Back to procurement. How, at this moment in your life, how much, you're with WME, one of the big agencies, how much work are you finding yourself? How much are from relationships? How much is WME getting you?
That's a good question. I feel like the last several jobs I've gotten are from me and my connections, but what can be helpful with the agents, they're all great, by the way, and I love my managers and my reps. They work hard. I actually like them. That's in her
contract that she has to say that.
Yeah, no, I actually like them. But sometimes I'll say like, hey, can we circle the wagons on this? Like, I heard that this job is available.
Back to your rodeo connection.
Yeah, right? Just born to rodeo, So, like, not who I am. I'm just in that world.
Sure.
Like a Long Islander.
Don't fight who you are.
Don't fight it. Annie Oakley.
Circle the wagon on a project.
So, circle the wagons. I'm like, who knows who? And it's like, you'd be surprised if, like, you're like, oh, I'm actually best friends with the producer on that show. Oh, I actually know the agent who reps the actor. Oh, I actually know this person. And so, like, when you come in, it's sort of like, they're like, oh, everybody's aware of you. As opposed to just being like, hey, me. And you have to inform everybody, and then they have to win everybody. It's like, sometimes I find that can be really helpful to use the agents that way. And then they do, like somebody just, one of the agents at WME just sent me something, and they were like, hey, they're, wondering if you'd be interested in an episode. And I'm like, definitely interested in an episode. Like, I'll go watch this season, and then I'll have the interview. And, like, so that is happening where, like, things are coming in, or they're putting me out for things. Yeah. Right? Like, but yeah, I have a lot of reps, man. I've got, like, agents and managers and the lawyer, and it's a lot of people.
How long did it take you before you could do that circle of wagon with them? Like, do you feel like, this is something I think actors wrestle with, and I imagine directors and writers do too, but like there's a fine line of like annoying them, but also getting what you need out of them.
Yeah, for sure.
So when did you get comfortable enough to be like, yo, what's happening here? Let's powwow.
Probably not that long ago, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. That's I've hopped agencies a bit, like early in my career, and I've left agents and managers, and it's always kind of ugly, and you take that risk of like going on somewhere else. And I've said to agents, hey, I feel like if I wasn't your client, I would have more meetings right now, or like I would have had, so I've had those tough moments. And then also I try to be really appreciative and say like anytime something happens that they're doing, I'm like, oh my God, go. I love you. Thank you. Like, I really try to do that. I don't know. You always feel like you're bugging,
I know, it's tough.
Like, I'll send an email and say a couple quick things, have we heard back on this? Have we heard back on this? Or like, also I'm meeting with this person. Does anybody, is there anything specific about that? It's like a part, it's just like a team effort at this point. I kind of feel like.
But did something spark like your confidence? You said it was recently. Did you shoot something, or did you have like a moment where you're like,
did I stop giving fucks?
Yeah. I don't know. Because it is hard.
I don't know. It's like last year I got nominated for a DGA award, and that was nice. And I'm like, kind of have to remind myself, like, no, my career is a good career. It's money making for people. Like, I have value as a artist. Like, I think sometimes I feel like I have to remind them of that too. I don't know, man. It is really hard. Like, but that's the truth. Like, see this again. I'm just to be really honest. I do think that relationship is interesting because in some ways they work for you, but in some ways they're like a gatekeeper. And when you're first starting out, I remember I had like project ideas that they were like, well, that won't sell. And you're like, why do you get to decide? Like, theoretically, you work for me, but they have to be excited about what you're doing too.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to be with the right person, I guess, as part of that equation.
Ain't
as
that
well.
the truth? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I just recently broke up with a manager and it didn't go great.
It's hard. Yeah, it's really hard.
But I find betting on yourself, like when you leap, you fly. And I've learned that in the last like year, I feel like really a lot more than normal. But like taking a chance.
Maybe it's because of COVID and the strikes and the like, you know, look, like I finally got to Sundance in 2020 and then COVID hit. And then it was like, I finally like was about to like, you know, going out for pilots and then the strike hit. And like, this has been like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's resiliency, right?
Resilience.
There's some level of like...
Yeah, like I'm still here and I'm going to still be here. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Pay attention to me.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's interesting that you specifically said, like, we ask who knows who. And that's so funny to me because, like, on our end, we have the breakdowns where agents cower. And I had access to those 10 years ago. I think most of the resources have dried up for actors. We're not supposed to have them, which is such bullshit, I think. But I get it to a degree because there's a lot of weirdos out there.
Inundated,
But I used to, when I had access to it, that's literally what I would do. I would scan for anybody I knew, writers, directors, or anyone I knew on the shows, and I literally would just email them and say, I saw this, I would like to audition for it.
Yeah,
not asking anything that takes...
That's right.
Makes them uncomfortable.
Can I get a meeting? Yeah,
it's as simple as that. And like, I cannot get my reps, it seems like, to... Because they don't know everybody I know, obviously. Yeah. But like, it's one of those things where that's cool that you can...
Well, I mean, like, it's funny because recently I was like, can you guys just tell me what you're putting me up for? And so, like, they sent me a list of, you know, the feature projects or whatever that were ODAs, open directing assignments. And I was like, oh, I do know this person, but I'm not right for that. Oh, that does sound interesting, but that's going to go to a bigger director. You know, like, I was like, okay, it's hard. Yeah. You know? Or sometimes I'll be like, hey, can we not do this strategy? And they're like, well, here's why we can't. I'm like, that's smart. Okay, thank you. Like, and that's it. You know, like, so trying to also honor what their opinion is about it or what they know about it. But I do kind of hate, like, I wouldn't say my reps do this all the time or much at all, but that feeling of like, it's really hard. Like that vibe, I hate. I'm like, yeah, movies are hard. I know. I've heard. Like, I know it's hard to be a TV director or like a TV writer. Yeah, I get it. Like, it's all hard, you know? So that I'm not so keen on with previous agents or previous reps.
Where do ODAs
Open directing assignments.
Yeah, but where do they end up?
What do you mean? Like they'll meet.
Does a network just like send those out to agencies? And say this is things we need?
Yeah, it's like they're looking for a pilot director for something or a feator director for something.
Sorry, I understand what they are, but I'm like, so for us, it's like Actors Access or whatever. Do you have? Is there a website that you guys can access it, or do they literally just go to the big agencies and say we need?
Yeah, I think it's all in conversation with like the agencies of like what the studios are doing, what the networks are doing, what different pods are working on.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. Who knows this magic secret-y stuff that they do? You should bring an agent on here and ask all these questions.
I've reached out to a few.
They won't come on?
None of them yet, really.
They're busy.
I've had some
They're
like
busy
commercial
making
agents.
actual money.
Yeah.
Well, we are an executive. Who else makes money?
Are they making money, though?
No, I'm fine. I'm
like, it's so hard for artists to make money. I find it fascinating, really the economics, that there are this many agents in this town.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like getting harder for everybody to make money, right? Because like... Anyway, yeah, I think it's getting harder.
You mentioned interview, like doing an interview for a TV show gig. When you go into those, that's ostensibly your audition. How much prep do you, like, what do you bring to something like that? That one you just mentioned, like, did you watch the show? Did you?
Yeah, so.
Do you bring in a headshot and a resume, print out?
Headshot and resume. So for this one, they were like, oh, we're sending you season 1, but you should at least watch these episodes, like 5 episodes. And then I was like, well, I'll just watch it. Like, I'll just watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I'll like make notes of specifically what was like created in the pilot, things I liked. things that like questions I have for them. And like for this one, it's it's network episodic. So it's not so much like, Tara, what would you do? What would be your dream version of it? I think it's a little bit more about like appreciating what they're doing, that I understand what they're doing and why and how it works and when it worked best and what I liked the best. Luckily, I think on this one, I'm meeting with the producing director who is also came from cinematography, and his episodes I thought were the most cinematic and interesting looking. And so that's my in to that.
Flattery.
Yeah, but it's not disingenuous either, right? It's like always trying to find what's good about something and what's working about something, and then asking them if there's things now in season 2 that they'd like to do differently, or like, well, what didn't work for you guys, or what concerns you about having a new director come in. Like sometimes the questions I'm asking are as revealing as what I could be saying about myself. Like, I don't spend a lot of time, and maybe I should do this more. I don't know what other directors do, like telling like hero stories about the one time that I got the thing done, or whatever. Like, I hate that shit. Like, I feel like I used to have interviews with producers that would be like, and then this one time I saved the day, and I'm always like, I don't love that. Like, take none of the credit and all the blame. Like, that's my vibe,
I hate to minimize this, but it literally sounds like a job interview.
It's a job interview.
I was picturing you like going in with like a storyboard, maybe like a light storyboard, and like a.
I do that only if I'm pitching on a feature.
Okay.
Or like if I was pitching on a pilot. The other day I was pitching to write and direct something that I think is going to be a graphic novel first for a company, and that was really fun and new. And I took a hint from one of my friends in the Secret Society, who's way more established than me and can probably get away with this more than I can. But instead of doing a whole lookbook, which I often do, I just had like a bunch of images in a folder.
Sure.
And I casually was like, I pulled together these images, like pull them up and like just talked through them. And I remember at one point, like I didn't have a whole presentation, but I go, and here's, Cillian Murphy in a beanie because that's important. And then I kept going. It was like, it makes sense in the course of the story, but it was like real basic. And, I try to be as authentic as possible, as keyed in as possible, as present as possible.
Well, I think it's very astute about the question thing, because I just quit my day job. I worked at a tech startup for like 10 years. And
at a what?
A tech startup. And I did like so many interviews because I was there so long. And by the end, honestly, I would ask 2 or 3 questions, and then I'd say, what questions do you have for me?
Yeah.
And their questions to me were much more interesting.
Yeah.
If they had no questions, that's a red flag. Like, they're not interested, they're not excited, they're just going through the motions. But if they had thoughtful questions, I think that goes a really long way. So that's very astute of you, I think, to pick up on that.
Yeah, it's really funny. I got a job that way once. I had been asked by Alliance of Women Directors to interview Sean Hayter, who I've mentioned twice now on this podcast.
Oh, wow.
Who doesn't love Sean Hayter? So she made Coda, right? And I've known her for years, but I interviewed her for Coda and, asked questions that I thought were interesting, that I wanted to know, answers I needed to know. And then she texted me like a few months later and was like, hey, do you think would you be interested in doing an episode of Little America? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, like absolutely yes. And she said that she had asked me not because she'd seen my work, but because she thought I was so smart when I did that podcast with her.
Oh, that's cool.
And then she had to go watch my work and was like, oh, thank God she's good. And I was like, that is so funny. Like, what a funny, the things that you don't expect.
Well, if there was ever a push for you to actually do your podcast, I mean that's the prime example. Totally. You did a podcast and it got you work. I
love the chats. I mean, I could turn this on you real quick. I could be like, okay, so tech startup, and what were they doing, and how did you find you're into it? And as an actor, how are you transitioning out? And I have lots of questions.
Well, that's interesting because it's like, I feel like directing is that, right? You have to know all the answers, so you have to ask these questions of all the people that you don't. I don't know what you know about production design or gaffing. You have to ask them to get what you need. So it actually, they probably go really hand in hand.
Yeah. I think staying curious is like the key to it, right? Like, and that's what I love about filmmaking is you just get to dive in so many different worlds, and I'm constantly learning. And I'm working with artists who are really good is so fun. Like, I love working with a production designer who surprises me, or DP. I mean, all of it, all of the actors. When you're surprised by something that comes, like that's the that's the best thing. You plan everything, and then you're like, oh my God, I could never have done that because I'm not the production designer. I'm not the actor. I'm not the DP.
Yeah.
Like, you brought something to it that makes it so much better.
Yeah.
You know?
That trust is like fun too. Like
Yeah.
to let yourself, because you mentioned you had OCD earlier, and I kind of do too, to a degree. And I just shot a short film that I had wanted to shoot for a long time.
Hey,
my short film.
congrats.
It's part of the reason I quit my job. I was like, I got to do the short film.
Yeah, I did that several times.
There you go.
It's like, I got to do the short. I got to quit. Sorry, bye.
Yeah, exactly. And
then I'm
I
like,
was,
yeah.
I trusted I was a very small group of people, and my buddy did the DPing, and he made it look absolutely incredible. And,
Nice.
and I just trusted him. It was a leap of faith, and he didn't disappoint. I was surprised, and I was very happy. So it's very cool.
Yeah, I think my favorite sort of collaboration, and like I've done this with stunts, I've done this with like all sorts of things, is like you have this conversation about like, what is it about? What are we getting at? Like, what are we doing? What does it mean? Why are we doing it? And then all those artists get to go away and then come back and present you with something, and you're like, oh, that's great. Also, or if, and then you're like tweaking. And like, I think like that's what makes film so cool, right? Is like that, like freedom. Like I think there is the idea of the auteur as if it's like born out of some like, direct pipeway from the brain. That's like, I think I thought I was that at some point. And then now I'm like, I really love the play. I love that constant evolution and like letting it grow up. And maybe that's part of being a mom too, is like watching like, I brought these kids into the world and then they're like becoming these other beings. I'm like, damn, that's a wild thing you're becoming. Who knew? Great.
It's all from their dad.
It's all from their dad. I blame their father. Oh my God, it's real.
I have to ask about casting, like as an actor, selfishly. I apologize.
Yeah, for sure.
How involved are you in the process? What do you like to see when you're casting? Like, what's your relationship with like casting directors? That was like 7 questions in one.
It's all good. Let's talk about casting. So it's always different depending on like what the project is, whether I come in as an episodic director and there is like a brand new series regular being cast, or if I'm doing a feature and I'm casting the whole shebang. In the very beginning, when you're doing attachments, there is no auditioning process, obviously. Like, you're trying to go out to, name talent that will finance your thing or whatever. But so like, let's move past that.
Yes,
but
please.
To working with a casting director, I think it is really important that it's like working with a key where you're explaining like what ilk of person are you looking for? Like what, because I think, maybe there's this feeling of like, well, any actor could play anything, like whatever, but the truth is if you're looking for a Irish Italian family in New York, it is different than like a family in Texas,
Right.
like or whatever. So I think having a casting director that is committed to understanding that and can communicate that with you is so important. And also, they know the town so much better than you do. They just know these like secret actors who are out there who they've seen 15 times and haven't booked, but they love them. And they'll know that. So like they have a whole little magic field of amazing talent that they're going to hopefully pull for you. And what do I like to see from an actor? I think surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, but like I have seen a lot of like perfect performances. I'm like, yep, that was exactly as it felt like it would be and should be, and like you had nailed it. And I wish there was more. Like I wish there was something unexpected. I wish there was something I hadn't thought of. I wish that it, had veered like a little to the left or a little to the right. Like I wish there'd been one moment that I went, oh, like an actor will laugh in the middle of a crying scene and I'm like, oh, that's it. There it is, So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to be connected, to be affected, to be surprised, I find the audition process to be awful. Like, I just think it's awful. It's awful for actors. I just don't, the process of it, I just think is like, how could you possibly work like this?
Especially now with self-tapes, because it seems like all of us are like, is anybody watching this? Do you watch tapes when you're, or do you wait?
Absolutely.
You do, yeah, okay.
But they filter for me.
Right.
I don't have time. Like, especially on an episode, like if we're casting a guest star, they're filtering for me.
Right. Do you have a number you like to see?
I will say I have said lately, please send me fewer, because I will watch all of it. I'm very attentive, and I watch it all, and I like really invest. And I feel like I'm the kind of director that like maybe for so many years, like I didn't have the opportunity to work with like, you know, huge experienced, amazing talent who could do 10 notes and like juggle and whatever, which I have gotten to work with now, which is great.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I was like, oh, I can help anyone get there. And so like, I'll be looking at a person and like wanting to say like, okay, I see what they're doing. I see how I could get them there. Like, I think there's value in every performance in a way. So I have had to say, send me fewer.
That's fair.
And then if I don't respond to any, I go, send me more. you know?
Right.
So like, it's not like I'm like, oh, I only have these. And there have been many times, especially, you know, you're casting kids, you're casting someone older, you're casting in Vancouver, you know, like there's times where you're like, really? Like, can we not dig deeper? Can we go further?
Do you have a casting director you use, or do you just go with wherever the studio tells you?
Yeah, no, I mean, company, I worked with an incredible team on Wander Darkly, but I haven't made a feature since then. So like, yeah, lately it's been popping around quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of great, talented people that I'd be very happy to work with coming up.
Yeah. I like that idea of like, you mentioned like laugh when they're supposed to be crying. It's so interesting because like we want to do it perfect, but honestly, life isn't perfect. I've been taking an on-camera class.
It depends on who your director is. Some directors want it that like perfect thing. Like it's like, you know, I'm always like the house in E.T. It's got to be messy. You know, like I'm like, make it messier, please make it messier. Well,
life's messy, right?
Life's
messy. I agree.
It's
just so. To your point about auditioning sex, it's just so weird. Like, I come from like an analytical world where I studied math and science. Like I have an engineering degree, and it's like
and then you switch to acting.
I know, it's annoying.
That's so wild.
But to me, it's like A plus B equals C, and so like I want a formula for auditions, but like that's absolutely not how you can approach those, because that is just going to put you in a box when you need that laugh when you're supposed to cry or whatever.
Yeah. Where you're playing against the moment.
Yeah. It's really interesting. And with self-tapes, it's just become this thing where it's like, how can I stand out on this gray backdrop? What can I do? And
it's funny. I remember casting, now I'm going to forget who I'm talking about. Oh, never mind. Let's skip it.
No,
so that with names.
We don't need the name. We'll put it in post.
You know, casting an actress for something, and she did this thing in the audition where she like put her hair up or something, and it was like kind of like supposed to be a flirty moment, but she did it so casually, and I was like, that's cute.
Yeah.
Like that's the moment. Like wasn't scripted, wasn't, you know, and I was like, oh, that's the moment.
That's so funny. My acting teacher, Robert Devons, had a girl do that in a class recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just put your hair up.
Just put your hair up at the start of it. Yeah.
Giving yourself some business, doing whatever.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I think there's also like, I heard somebody talking about this. There's like a tendency for this generation to want to like mumble, you know, if like they don't buy a line, if they don't, you know, like they kind of mumble through things. And I think if you can manage to not be afraid of a line and actually say it and have it feel authentic, like that's a pretty good trick.
Yeah.
You know?
Are we back to mumblecore now?
Maybe. No shade on mumblecore. Those guys are geniuses.
You mentioned earlier, like you went to a set, you were new to the set, you replaced somebody that was there.
Oh yeah.
Well, how do you have a way that you approach like the tone of a set? Like, do you have a tone on set you like to think you bring?
I like to be the Tigger in a room of Eeyores and piglets. That's my camp counselor energy. Full on camp counselor energy. And like, I think that, you know, so it only works if you have a pretty dry AD who will not shame you for it and who understands their role in the dynamic. Like their role is the rule maker, and the time, you know, like their role is the marching on, and you get to be like, blah, 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 you know, like playful and giddy and coming in and like, you know, creating and having fun. That's my favorite way to run set. Not every actor enjoys that. Some actors need to be that. And so then you have to take that step back and be like that for your cast, you know, the rest of your crew, and let them have it's, you know, that be in that spotlight, you know, like, and have that centrality to a set. And then sometimes you're shooting a really hardcore scene, and I'm like making sure that there's no phones on glowing while an actor's doing some horribly devastating, difficult performance. But yeah, it's always different, right? Like every day is different, just like every scene is different and commands and requires different things. But yeah, mostly I like to have like a really good time on set. Keep it focused, keep it like fun, and play.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's like, I love being on set.
So do I.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's like the circus coming into town, and you like put up all the tents, and you like put on the show. It's just like, it's like the best thing in the world.
I agree. I was just listening to a Martin Short interview, and he said, we have the best time on Murders in the Building because historically, he's like, I don't know if something's going to take off or work or last.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
you might as well have fun in making it.
Yeah, that's exactly
Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what that reminds me of.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And like, it's funny because, you know, especially being an episodic director, I hop from just such different worlds to different worlds. Like this year I went from We Were Liars to The Rookie. And it was like, could not have been more different, you know? And both fun and both adventures in different ways. And, you know, like, it's like to try to find your speed within that family.
Right.
Takes a second, right? And you have to be respectful when you're coming into somebody else's.
Yeah, you're like the substitute teacher, and you need to gain respect, but also like keep up camaraderie.
And also keep everybody thinking, man, she should be our teacher all the time. I'm like a little bit competitive. Like I just want to make the best episode of the season, you guys. Like that's all. I just want to make the best one. Like that's true. I do. I want to make I want it to be the best I can do. That's the truth.
Speaking of, I reached out to you because of Lessons in Chemistry, which you did the last 2 episodes, which were phenomenal.
Thank you.
I want to quickly ask you, I fucking loved the book. The book was incredible. I loved the show. They were different in my opinion, definitely, which isn't a bad thing. I think it would be impossible to make any adaptation exactly the same, and it wouldn't behoove anybody. But when you do something like that, and you are not doing all 8, you're doing 2, how do you pay homage?
Yeah.
Homage
Either way, I think it works. Yeah.
to the material without, you know. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. You know, it's interesting because really that job fell onto the shoulders of Lee Eisenberg, who was the showrunner.
Right.
Because I came in like at the end, right?
Yeah.
And so I will say, you know, they were still reimagining and still reworking and like still, you know, deeply in it in my first weeks of prep. So I felt very lucky to be able to like slip into that like creative process with them. And I have a long relationship with Lee. And so we have that, you know, we did Little America together. And so there was sort of like an easy trust already established, which was wonderful. But I definitely for myself read the book, put the book down, and then started reading all 8 scripts and watching Sarah Dina Smith's version, which I know you interviewed Sarah, watching her footage because I felt like whatever Sarah was establishing, I had to answer. So the pilot was like a call, and she had inherited a Elizabeth Zott that was different than my Elizabeth Zott. My Elizabeth had gone on a whole journey, and so I wanted my style to be an evolution of where she began. And so like that for me was more of the concern than the book, actually. It was like, what are we doing now? And what is it now? And what is it now? And what is it now? So, so once I read the book once, then I was into the series. And I was like, I had to put that down and then, you know, like really just invest in what the series was trying to be.
I love that. How much, I mean, you're coming in while they're making it. So of the pilot, how much was it shot earlier than the rest of it? Like how many episodes could you see that were finished?
I don't even know that I saw a cut.
Oh, wow.
Like I can't remember if I even saw a cut of the pilot
that seems so hard
before I was shooting. It is really hard. But there was a lot of conversations. Again, like, you know, directors helping directors. I had a long talk with Sarah, a long talk with Bert and Bertie, a long talk with Millicent Shelton, all about what had worked and what had not worked and where they were and what they were doing. So I think that sort of like camaraderie was key to me succeeding, like learning about the, you know, the actors' quirks and what had worked or what had been difficult or what the production challenges were. That is like just so helpful coming onto a show.
Yeah. You just mentioned actor quirks. Do you approach somebody like Brie Larson, an Academy Award winner,
Yeah, she's incredible.
versus like a co-star on The Rookie? Do you approach them differently?
Hell yeah.
How? What can you talk about? Oh, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems obvious, but I guess I don't know.
Yes, for sure. And like, I actually wish I could get better at approaching Brie Larson more like I would approach a co-star on The Rookie.
Tell me.
Like, I'm so casual, you know, like I'm so like much more like, you know, it's really funny. I was just remembering there were 2 actors on a set that they were dating and their characters were not supposed to be dating. And I like yelled across the set at them, like, don't touch. You know,
That's
like,
funny.
Just like I can keep it light like that.
I see.
But it's not as easy to do that with someone like Brie.
I see.
Who it's her show, it's her set. I'm coming in, I want to impress her, you know. So I tend to be like a little bit more like, and maybe this is to my detriment actually, like a little bit more reserved or something in those situations, which maybe it isn't good. I don't know.
Well, it worked. You got nominated for DGA, but it is interesting. Like,
She's really good. I mean, like, and I ask a lot of weird things of actors. You know, like I did this movie with Sienna Miller and Diego Luna, and I was constantly like, okay, but there's this transition, so like I know you're in it, just stay right there. The camera's gonna swoop all the way around your head, and Sienna would be like, okay, like trying to stay in this moment, you know. So I ask a lot of actors. Like I have some precise, you know, things in mind. But certainly, I think I've learned to ask an actor how they like to work. And that's something you don't do with a guest star.
right, definitely.
To try to shoot number 1 first. To, if you are making them go again, it better be for a good reason. You know, especially after like 3 takes or something. Like,
Yeah.
You know, and to trust that they know it. Like, you know, Brie shows up and she knows her shit. She's very good. She's very, like, prepared. She's thought it out. She's really smart. So, you know, you just have to be like a little bit more on your game than
Right.
like maybe with a guest star who's like, whatever you want. Although somebody told me recently, like actors in Britain will be like, how can I help? And you're like, like, that's not always what you get, you know, like from like a number 1 on a call sheet. But no, Brie, she's like a ninja, you know, she like shows up and does the thing. So it is less work in a way than sometimes a guest star comes in and like it's a really tough position to be in.
That's what I was just going to say.
On that same show, we had an actor that came in and he had like maybe 4 or 5 lines. He just couldn't get them. And it was so hard for everybody. And I remember just being like, all right, we're going to do your single. I'm going to read the line and then you'll say the line. I'm going to read the line and then you'll say the line. I'm going to read the line. It was really, really, really hard. But like, you don't have to do that with Brie Larson.
Yeah.
You know, so like,
I'm not
it's a
saying
different deference. It's a different, you know, different level of deference.
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is necessarily Brie, but like I wonder how many of those stars are surrounded by people that constantly are saying yes, and you know, and I wonder what a
lot of
director
them, I
that
think.
pushes back a little bit, how receptive some of those people would be to them.
You know, I will say, like, not talking specifically about that, I do push back. I just did a panel, actually, like at the DGA 2 nights ago or something about
Jeez, look at
talking to
you!
number 1 on the call sheet.
Interview all over.
I mean, like, I'm not filming right now, so let's talk about it. I'm avoiding my writing. No, that's not true. I'm on a deadline. I'm going right back to the script right after this. I'm turning it in by the end of the day. No, I just, I do think that, like, your job isn't always to make an actor comfortable.
Definitely.
Even though, like, you know, people say, oh, you can do your best work when you're comfortable. Like, sometimes the job is to make them uncomfortable or to disagree or to, like, push them past what they want to do, you know? Like, and I'm not saying anything that's, like, intimacy coordinator, what they want to do. I just mean to sometimes getting into real, truly vulnerable spaces isn't fun and isn't comfortable. And so that's okay, you know? So I certainly... I'm not one to like agree if I don't actually agree. Like I might say, I will do it however you want me to do it. Or if that's what you want to do, we can do that. I really feel strongly that this is a better scene or this is a better choice here. Or like, you know, so yeah, I think it's important to be able to talk those things out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think you have to do that. Back to this guest star. So at what point do you cut your losses? Do you ever fire an actor? Have you ever fired an actor? Because I find it.
Think about that.
Who was I talking to? Was it George Basil? I think it was George Basil, and it might have been Barbie. Maybe not. George did something where like he was flubbing his line, And he was like, they're not going to fire you once you're there. Like, they have.
I don't think I've ever fired an actor.
Once you book it, it's impossible.
Once you book it. Oh, but they have like replaced number ones like in series and stuff before and gone back and reshot around them. And like, I mean, I guess that happens.
Yeah.
Or you shoot the pilot and then you don't get the series. They like recast you.
Yeah.
Huh.
It is wild to me though that like, because now with self-tapes, it's like, I can't speak for this person and I don't mean to, like, I get the pressure, but like, I wonder how many takes they had on their self-tape.
Yeah, that's right.
And or if they were literally reading it over the teleprompting it. You know, it's really interesting.
Yeah, no, I've never ever fired an actor.
This is why I hate self-tapes, by the way.
And I have had actors where I'm like over that person. I'm like, you're so lucky you're here. You're over the whole thing. You're young. You know, like we're all standing out here. It's 3 a.m. and like you're like wobbling in from your trailer. And I'm like... You're like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm like, we're all drenched in 0 degree Canadian weather, you know, like, do your fisty fights. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, actors are very
no.
I think a lot are
a lot of them are abused. I think a lot of actors feel like meat puppets. Have you ever heard that term?
Sure.
Camera operators love to call them, get the meat puppets. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I love actors. I do. I love that, you know, it's the thing that we're doing. Like, that's the thing we're all here for, is to see what happens in that moment. So I think the most frustrating thing maybe is as an episodic director is that you don't even get to talk to them sometimes before. Like, you have to make that effort to say, can I please go meet them? Can I go find them in the trailer? Can I find them on set? It's like the one department that you don't prep with.
That's wild.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
It's crazy.
We're at an hour. The last question I like to ask is, who took a chance on you?
Oh, so many people have taken a chance on me.
Name all of them, I guess.
Okay, wait. So, my first episode. Okay, wait. So my first feature that I ever got made was this woman, Jennifer Weston, who we made a little micro budget feature together, and now she is at Artist Equity at Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's company, and she's doing great. And she's still a fine friend. And I was 8 months pregnant, and she let me go shoot a movie with her in Michigan.
Amazing.
That was amazing. And then my second one is this woman, Sharon Bordis, who was working at Mar Vista at the time. And they were not hiring women at the time. And I had a bunch of development stuff happening, and I'd made this movie, The Lake Effect, and she was like, I'm going to hire you. And she gave me 3 Lifetime movies back to back over 3 years. The next person is Lynette Howell, who is a longtime friend and a huge producer and a very talented filmmaker. And she took a chance on me with Wander Darkly. And when I couldn't, somebody that had promised it wasn't going to make it, and she said, just go write it. I'll help you get it made. Bruce Paltrow also did that for me. Brian Spicer at Hawaii Five-0. He was the producing director, and I shadowed him. Glenn Geller at CBS got me that shadow. And I was like, they're never going to hire me. And then they did hire me, and Brian was like, stay close, ask a lot of questions. And then he gave me my first episode ever. I mean, it's like so many people.
What I love about this is not only are you so lucky to have so many people take a chance on you, but you remember every single one very specifically and very quickly.
God.
And that
Wendy
is
Miracle
very cool.
got me my first Arrow, which was like, you know, you have to get that episode after. And yeah, I mean, it's like.
I like that you know everybody.
Lee Eisenberg and Sean Hayter again, dude. I'm gonna have to call her after this. But yeah, like all these people, so many people have taken a chance on me. And I would say even right now, like I'm working with someone who, just because the project's not official, I don't want to say it, but like, you know, they're taking a chance on me doing something bigger and something different, you know, or like, you know, Tina Fey and Carol Burnett took a chance on me with that project that I did for them. And I mean, so many people, Josh McLaughlin. I mean the list. Every time somebody hires me, I'm like, you're taking a chance. High risk. High risk.
I took a chance on you by interviewing you. You're a wild card. Everyone told me about you.
It's like crazy.
Tara, this was a delight. Thank you so much for doing it. This is so good.
Like, this is great.
People are going to love this.
You're lovely.
Okay, well, you are too.
I'm so envious of your podcast.
You can make one.
Podcast
now, look at this. This is all just janky put together. Nobody even listens. Okay. Tail Slate.
Bye, everybody. Tara Miele out. Peace.
Great.